Hello everyone, welcome back to another film discussion. My name is Adam, and in this video I've got 7 hot tips for you on how you can look after your physical media collection. And we're talking about discs, the Blu-rays, the DVDs and the 4Ks, although the same can be said for, you know, VHS and Laserdisc as well, but we're focusing on the digital stuff in this video. Now, collecting films is, can be anything you want it to be at the end of the day. It can be a flash in the pan hobby, or it can be a lifelong thing. And for any film lover, you want to be able to go back to your collection, your films, and watch whatever you want, whenever you want, and not have to like grab a film off the shelf, pop the disc in the player, and then it starts skipping or breaking down or doesn't even play, and it's like shit. Maintaining your collection is very, very important to the survivability of the media into the future. If you damage these discs, if they get scratched for whatever reason, they will not play. They can break down, they can start skipping or juddering inside, and they're fragile at the end of the day. Like if I take this Jurassic Park 4K out and hold it up to the light, I can actually see the 4K logo on the other side. It's almost see-through, this disc is. They're very fragile. So maintaining your collection is very important to be able to continue to enjoy your collection into the future and not have to replace the discs constantly. And even with 4K and Blu-ray, there is a major issue that can be presented. I mean, as well as DVD, like disc rot, that can't be helped to a degree, but the issues with Blu-ray and 4K can be helped, and I'll explain in a bit. But tip number 1 for maintaining or looking after your collection is, from my personal point of view, I'm the person who bought this disc. It wasn't a gift. I took my hard-earned cash and I paid for this disc. I'm going to look after this. I'm going to handle it with care. I'm going to hold the disc from the edges. I'm not going to be touching this underside with my fingers. I'm not going to be throwing it around like a frisbee. I'm going to look after this, and then I'm going to pop it back on the shelf upright when I'm done. And I know I've got a stack there that aren't upright, but that's for a short-term reason. But when you lend a friend, a family member, whoever, your disc, they haven't purchased it themselves, and they tend to take a little less care with your item. And sometimes you'll get it back in not the same state you lent it out. At the end of the day, I'm not Blockbusters, okay? You want to borrow one of my films? How about you come on over and we'll have a film night and we'll watch it together, instead of you leaving me out of the film loop and just taking my disc and then sending me back with all these scratches on it. Like, I don't lend my films out to people. I care for them, and that's one way that I make sure that I'm looking after my collection. Now, I'm not saying don't go lending out your films to friends. Like, just be careful. Like, pick who you do lend it out to, because if you Billy Bob down the road who is just a absent-minded Mr. Magoo, then maybe invite him around for a film night instead of lending him a copy of the film. Your films might survive a little bit longer if other people take just as much care with your property as you do with your own. Now, this kind of ties into the second top tip, which is, avoid scratching the disc. Keep the discs in their case. The more they're in their case, the more chances they're going to survive and not get scratched. Obviously, if you accidentally drop it, you can't help that. But if you leave this out, and you just go, I'm just going to put this disc here for a moment because whatever, then chances are it's collecting dust and it's going to get scratched. The more you leave it out, the more chance it is it's going to get scratched. You don't want your disc to be scratched, because you go to put it in the player and it starts skipping, or it doesn't even play, and then you got to replace that disc. Now, this was a triple pack set with the 3 Jurassic Park films. So this was like 40-50 quid for the 3, or no, £60 for the 3 films when 4K first came out. And like, I I want this to last into the future because I don't want to have to pay again for this disc, you know. So I'm going to look after it. I'm going to make sure it doesn't get scratched. One way as well, like obviously, you know, little bits of dirt or grime or whatever can, like, you know, get on the underside. The best way to, you know, if there's a light scratch on there where it's not actually a scratch, it's just a mark, you know, there is a great way you can actually clean it. And if you wear glasses, you only need like one of these little cloths that you get with your glasses case. It's a little like lint cloth, and you can literally just go and then wipe it across like that. This cloth is not going to scratch the disc, but it will remove any little, you know, marks or little bits that build up on it, or like dust. And just doing that from the edge out, from the inside out, just doing that is the best way to avoid them getting scratched, as well as keeping them in the case. You know, they're very delicate discs, you know, they're not like VHSs where you can throw them about a bit. You've really got to look after these disc things, you know. Now another way to look after, and I need one with a slip cover this time, to prevent, because some of them come with these awesome little slip covers, you know, and I've noticed, and I don't know what it is, but when you go to pop it in from the, like, the disc version and the slip, when you try and put the slip in, like, that's not going in. Like, it's a little bit more finicky doing that, but putting the slip cover on the actual disc itself like that is a lot better, I find. I don't know what it is, you know, but trying to put the disc actually like through the top, I know sometimes it's a little bit finicky, you know. I always find, rather than putting the disc in the slip, put the slip on the disc, if that makes sense. It prevents the plastic on the actual, you know, because these have got like these plastic lips here, prevents these from getting bent over, but also prevents this from getting ripped. It's cardboard at the end of the day, and so the more times you bang it, the more times you knock it, then it tends to, you know, fall apart. So just slide the slip on rather than trying to put the disc in, because sometimes it just, like, that's not even going when I'm pushing the disc in. It's so weird. It's because it's like, hold the disc still and then just pop the slip cover on and it works fine. But when you're trying it the other way around, literally, and you try and put the disc in, like, that's catching, that is now. That's catching because I'm pushing with the disc, but pushing with the slip cover, and it goes on fine. It's magic. It's weird, but it will help you prevent you from sort of scuffing the outside of the case or the cardboard. It is such a weird one, that you know, but that is one tip to prevent, you know, damage from your disc. Another one is on the storage side. You know, wherever you put them on your shelf, and you do want to put them on your shelf, and you do want to have them upright, you know, treat them like a vinyl. You don't want to stack them like this, you know, all the way up, you know, because the pressure at the top can harm the ones on the bottom. Like, Unbreakable on the bottom is a cardboard cover, and that's getting compressed with the weight of the others. Whereas if they're all lined up like books or like the ones down here, then that doesn't happen, you know. But wherever you put them on your shelf, don't put them where the window, the sunlight beams in directly onto them. You don't want to put them in direct sunlight. What can happen with the sun over many decades, and I seen this at my grandma's house where she had a sideboard sort of cabinet with all the family pictures on, and every time I'd go over, they'd get a little bit more blue or a little bit more green and faded, and the sun will bleach the covers of your collection and fade all the spines up, and soon it will lose the pigment of color, you know, across the cover. And so wherever you've got your collection, don't put it facing a window with direct sunlight coming in. Face it where the sunlight is away from it. You know, heck, you could even put your cabinet in front of your window to block the sun coming in, you know. But yeah, have it in, like, treat it like a mushroom. Keep it in the dark, you know. Feed it on, you know, what. Just don't put it in direct sunlight, you know. And tip number 6 is you have to keep the temperature of wherever you're storing your discs between a certain sort of room temperature. You know, if it's too cold, then condensation can build up on these discs. And then once condensation begins to build up, you'll get water droplets. And then if they dry off, you'll start to get this kind of like sticky moisture happening inside the case and on the disc, and that can make it unplayable. On the same token, if it's way too hot, you can actually start warping your disc, you know, because they're made of plastic at the end of the day, and at a certain temperature plastic begins to melt. And so if it's too hot in your room, you could literally be warping the discs without even realizing it. Only takes like a micro movement of the disc to then, when you put it in the drawer and it spins round at thousands of miles an hour, or whatever speed it does, it can shatter, it can, you know, wobble and catch something and then break your player and ruin your disc. But if you keep the temperature at a decent room temperature, you know, so condensation doesn't build up or heat doesn't happen too much, then these discs will last a heck of a lot longer, you know. Also, you know, clean the cases, the new discs. You know, if your case is getting a little bit shabby, you know, it's got scuffs on it, there is nothing wrong with just replacing that case for a new one, because it's kind of like a psychological thing. If you see a knackered case, you feel that the disc is knackered, or you have a little less care with it. If it looks brand new, you tend to take better care of it. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but you know, if your cases begin to get scuffed, and you know, you can just replace them, you know, and have a nice shiny new case. But also, another reason can be, and this is a manufacturing fault, and I believe it's happening to this one. If we take the disc out, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera properly, but there is like a residue on this disc here, if you can see that. Yep, that residue has got like an oiliness to it, right? And it can be very harmful to the disc. This oily residue can actually get on the disc, and you know, you might notice like little circles on the plastic. They can transfer to your disc, and they can start to, you know, with the temperature, they can start to like almost set on the disc. And then when you go to play it, it won't play, and it'll start skipping, and you'll go, what the hell's going on? And it's because the residue off the case, which this is riddled with, if you can see that, has then gotten on your disc, making it unplayable. So what you want to do is take everything out, so you've got a blank case, and basically you need to give it a wipe. So get, like, you can use a kitchen roll, but I use this duster, and you basically just, you know, clean it. You just rub it through, get all that oiliness off. I believe it's a process of what is it, like the not the aroma, what's the word I'm looking for, you know, it's for when they package these up, the aerosol, I guess it is, of the manufacturing glue that is used to kind of press discs together, can kind of bake within this sealed environment. Once they seal it up, the residue that is kind of left, you know, on the disc then kind of bakes inside this case and steams inside over time, and eventually you'll have a case. I mean, look how shiny that is now. you'll have a case that looks riddled with oil or grime or something, and then eventually that transfers to your disc. Now, don't clean your discs with the same cloth that you've just cleaned the inside of the case. We can pop this back in here now. The only reason I took it out is because I didn't want to rip it with the handling that I was doing, but we can pop the cover in. You probably won't need to do the back. And I have noticed that it only happens on the soft plastic. There are some cases, which I don't think I actually have here to hand, that have like, sometimes they have a flap for another disc and they're quite rigid plastic. They don't get this issue. It's the soft plastic cases that get this issue. I don't know why. But then you go back to your link cloth for the disc, and then you can just basically from the center to the outside wipe over and get any grime that's on there off. And if it's not coming off, do the old breath test. Don't use liquids or anything to either spray on here and then wipe off. Your breath, the condensation on your breath, considering, you know, let's hope you haven't got like dragon breath that's going to disintegrate the disc, is enough to just clean that disc off. That Blu-ray's done now. We'll pop that in. And then to the 4K. And honestly, you want to go through your collection and make sure none of them have this. You might, you know, first get it and you don't see anything in there. And then like a year or two or a few months later, you go back inside and you go, whoa, what's all this crap that's on the inside of my my case? It can happen over time, and I'm not saying it happens to every disc. It really probably does depend on the manufacturing plants and their quality control methods. Yeah, definitely want to go through all your discs. It usually happens to 4Ks and Blu-rays. I haven't really seen it with DVDs. I don't know if it's because of the type of disc it is or the case they use, but I've never seen this grimy stuff on the inside of a DVD case. It only really happens to Blu-rays. And I'll tell you this, when I first started buying Blu-rays, I'd open it up and you get this kind of certain smell when you first open a Blu-ray, and I used to love it. I'm like, oh, the smell of a new Blu-ray. And it's actually this grime that's building up, you know, and this has got it actually. I've just run my finger on it and this has got it. And this is the grime that you're smelling, you know. It smells like licorice almost, you know. But yeah, another reason to take the cover off is so you can see the grime very clearly. And when you start wiping that grime off, you will see how much it has actually, the residue has been left behind through the process of packaging. And that's all it is. It's the packaging process from when they printed the disc and then put it in here, the residue left over on that for when then they seal it just builds up in the fumes. That's the word I was looking for. Fumes. The disc starts fuming. It's mad. It's, why are you locking me in here? It basically starts sweating, I think. You know, and of course, if you don't temperature control your climate, then that can, you know, make it worse or alleviate the issue. So that's done now. And basically, yeah, just go through all your discs. I know the disc is clean because I looked at that before. So that's tip number 6, I think. I don't know if I've skipped any or not, but the final tip, and probably the most important for maintaining your collection, is keep a bloody record of what you've got. You know, either write down on paper or a book, a log, or get an app, you know, where you scan the barcode. But maintain your collection by knowing what's in your collection, because the worst thing you want to do is go and buy the same disc twice and go, oh, I already had that one. Shit. You know, that's like the worst thing to do because you've wasted your money. Hi, do you mind if I get a refund on this because I'm an idiot? You know, so get an app. I use an app It's like 99p a month, or no, 99p a year or something. It's called My Movies, I think. And basically, you scan the barcode and it shows up on your app. You don't have to get an app. You can probably find a free way, or not a free way, like as in a highway, but a free way to do it. But you can also just write it down and keep a log. But I like to see the covers, so that's why I have it on my phone. But definitely, because then if I, go to a shop where I'm going to buy some discs and I scan the barcode on it, it'll tell me if I've already bought it or not. And that way I don't, double up. Because double dipping is something that you don't want to do. Just because the studios double dip, it doesn't mean you have to. But anyway, there's your 7 top tips for maintaining a collection and seeing it on decades into the future. If you feel like I've missed anything in this kind of maintaining or looking after your collection, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.